Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is March 24th, and we have our predictions for the awards as well as division winners and the World Series winner, plus more. Let's do it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today? Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 24th. Opening day is a mere 3 days away this Thursday on the 27th. So get ready for baseball to consume your life for the next 6 to 7 months here. I am ecstatic and excited to be bringing you all of the baseball news for the 2025 season, our third year together. Very exciting. The first episode I did, besides of the little intro, how do you do, this is me and this is my podcast, was the first ever awards and predictions for the 2023 season. We've gone through 2023, we've gone through 2024, and now it is time to go through 2025, and I am super excited. And I've got some outlandish predictions this year. You know, there's some obvious choices, but, I maybe took one or two obvious choices, but I definitely want to sprinkle it in my fair share of what I could really think. I've got some really hot takes coming up here. So excited to be sharing those with you guys. But before we get in on to those predictions, I have a couple of last minute things I just want to throw in here before the season starts and before we do our first episode of a series recap here. There was a couple of trades and a couple of extensions that happened, so I just want to go through that quickly as like the last bit of off-season news before we start talking about other things that aren't besides just the off-season here. So over the week here, first off, the Nationals showcased their second City Connect jerseys. Bounded blue. It's got the DC in the chest now. It's a nice jersey. I think the Washington, the old one with the WSH in the middle and the flowers, the cherry blossoms, I think that one was a lot nicer looking. I'm a big fan of the older one, but I do like the color blue. It's not like the other blues we've seen from other teams in their City Connects. It's more of a nice powdery blue, kind of not powdery, but a darker blue. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend just go and take a look at it, especially if you're a Nationals fan. But it's a nice jersey regardless, and that's what they'll be rocking with for this season as they say goodbye to the gray ones and the flowers. So there's a switch there. Other signings here, Kyle Gibson signed a 1-year deal with Baltimore, so he's going to be joining that rotation, and you're going to need the pitching. I mentioned that in the DOP for the Baltimore Oilers, that they lack pitching. They lacked a lot of offseason moves. So what does that look like for the 2025 season? We had a couple of trades. The first one, Mark Canha is heading to the Royals. Of course, the Brewers, I believe, re-signed him. I think it was the Brewers, but either way, he's on the Royals now. And the other trade that happened, Guardians sent Tyler Freeman to the Colorado Rockies in exchange for Nolan Jones. Nolan Jones was actually part of the Guardians farm system before I believe he got moved to the Rockies. He had a breakout kind of year in 2023 and then was pretty quiet and regressed a little bit in 2024. So Guardians trade for him back, and now he is hoping to kind of break out and continue to be there with the Guardians. I like Nolan Jones. I thought he was a great player for the Rockies, and I'm hoping he can kind of regain that 2023 form a little bit and can be a big piece for the Guardians going forward. And then Tyler Freeman, what we see out of him from Colorado, we'll have to wait and see for that. And the last two things here is a couple of 5-year extensions. Those same Cleveland Guardians, they're extending, I guess, their ace right now when healthy. Tanner Bybee, top prospect and a Rookie of the Year finalist 2 years ago. He's getting a 5-year deal worth $48 million. So the Guardians wrap up a piece and a key piece to their rotation. And the Blue Jays are extending Alejandro Kirk to a 5-year deal with $58 million. Kirk outlasted Danny Jansen. They traded Gabriel Moreno away to keep this guy. And honestly, if you're making a team of underrated players and you need a catcher, I think Kirk is one of the most underrated catchers in baseball. When he first came into the league, we saw how his power was. Like, he has power, he had good contact, the hitting skills were there, and the defense was just incredible. over the years, we've seen his hitting kind of dip and dive a little bit here and there. It's very inconsistent at times, but his defense has been spectacular. He's one of the best framing catchers in the league right now. He's got a strong arm, and I think, if he gets that bat going at a consistent pace, he is a top 10 catcher in the league right now. His spring training numbers have been great. His hitting has looked really well. Of course, it is spring training, but if Kirk gets going for the Blue Jays this season, not only is that a key piece for the Blue Jays going forward into multiple years, but that may help them extend other players and help them continue to contend. Because, like I said, this year is a real, either you're contending and you're going for it, or you're going to miss out and you're going to trade away key players of your franchise, and it's going to be a complete rebuild going forward here for the Blue Jays. So we'll have to see what that looks like. But those were the last couple of moves here for the 2024/2025 offseason. Offseason. During the offseason here. But we are going to dive in now to my picks for the awards and division winners. We're going to start, as usual, with the MVPs. And for me, I wanted to take this opportunity to go a little outlandish, because there are obvious choices. There's the Aaron Judges of the world. And last year I picked Bobby Witt, and he came second, so very close. And I think Bobby Witt will win the MVP this year. But for my pick, I'm going a little bit more outdated here. A little bit, not outdated, but a little bit more into left field. And by left field, I mean designated hitter, because I believe that Yordan Alvarez is going to be the MVP for the American League. Now, it is very rare for a DH to win an MVP. We know that. But Shohei did it last year. Of course, Shohei is Shohei. And the truth is, even though Yordan Alvarez should be the designated hitter for the Astros, Altuve in left field during these spring training games hasn't looked great. I don't think it's going to stay. I think Alvarez will end up playing more left field than we think. And I think his offensive numbers are here to stay. I like his bat. We've seen how good he's been since winning the Rookie of the Year in 2019. COVID, he barely played, was hurt pretty much all year, only played 2 games. But, the last 3 years, he's been an all-star. The last 3 years, he's been, top 10 in MVP voting pretty much, top 3 in 2022, and he had a Silver Slugger. So, that's the kind of season I think we're in here for Yordan Alvarez. I think his hitting numbers, he's going to be healthy. I think he's going to be the best bat in the American League, and I think he's going to be that good that it's going to lead to an MVP for Yordan Alvarez. I'm thinking 50-plus home runs. And without Kyle Tucker, without Bregman, the Astros are going to need a key spot in their offense. And I think Yordan Alvarez is going to be that guy. If they want any chance at making it back to the postseason, they're going to need Alvarez. They're going to need Altuve. They're going to need their guys to click. And Yordan Alvarez is going to lead this way for the offense. He's going to be hitting bomb after bomb, and he is going to be crushing baseballs. A big player for the Houston Astros, because if he's going and if he is on MVP pace, I think the Astros will be fine and will most likely settle into a wild card seed, if not the division. So Houston, that's my pick. Yordan Alvarez to win the American League MVP. If not, Bobby Witt obviously is my more obvious pick, but I'll say that. Moving on to the NL side of things, again, very obvious choices. Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Mookie Betts, Tatis even, Harper, Trey Turner, potentially. There are a lot of key players in the NL, amazing stars. Heck, even Kyle Tucker is probably going to be a favorite to win the MVP. Playing for the Cubs. How good will the Cubs be in 2025? 2 games in, not so much, but there's still 160 to go for them. Like the American League, I want to go a little bit, into outfield, into, a little, you wouldn't expect this pick, but it's not a bad pick. And for me, I'm heading to Arizona to not take Corbin Carroll, but to take Ketel Marte. Something about this switch hitter second base the last couple of seasons, I can't shake. This guy is great. Sneaky, underrated guy Once he came over to Arizona, he saw some down years. 2019, he made a name for himself. He was an all-star for the first time in his career. He finished 4th in MVP voting. COVID year, little meh. 2021, he was hurt a little bit at the beginning of the season, wasn't an all-star, but when he came back, he was healthy, and he picked it up. He had a 909 OPS, 14 home runs, solid stuff overall. 2022, a little bit of a dip. 2023, back on the rise, an 844 OPS. His best offensive year with 25 home runs, or second best, I should say, going back to 32 home runs in 2019. But last year, a 6.8 WAR. He had a career-high 36 RBIs. He had a career-high 95 RBIs. He had a 932 OPS. He was an all-star for the second time in his career, won a Silver Slugger for the first time, and finished top 3 in MVP voting. And, it's going to be tough for a player like Marte. He's going to be 31 this season. It's tough for players when there is the Otanis and the Betts and the Freemans and Sotos and all the other great players that are in the NL. But I think Ketel Marte, switch hitting second baseman, Arizona missed the wild card by nothing. They missed it by a tiebreaker to the Mets and to the Braves. So I think they're going to be hungry to return back to the postseason. Carroll had a down year for 5 months of the season before picking it up. So I think the offense will click. They signed Corbin Burns. I'm really excited to see what Arizona can do, and I think Ketel Marte is going to lead the way. I think he's going to have a fantastic season. He's finished 4th in MVP voting. He's finished 3rd in MVP voting. It's time for him to finish 1st in MVP voting. He doesn't need to finish 2nd before reaching that top of the mountain there. I think Ketel Marte is a great choice for the MVP, and I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table in 2025. So those are my 2 picks for the MVPs here. So let's move on. Let's waste no time. Let's just keep it rolling, get through all of these awards, and then go from there. So we're going to Cy Youngs next. AL Cy Young to begin with here. Cole, Tommy John, not around, so it kind of opens up a spot here for a potential, top 3 that you wouldn't expect. And when I looked around, there's some aces, some guys that you definitely would be like, yeah, he's got a good chance. And I was thinking about that AL Central because, one of these teams is going to need a difference maker. And, there's some offensive difference makers. Guardians have Ramirez. Royals have Bobby Witt. Tigers, Riley Green. And the Twins, Correa, of course, when healthy, and Buxton. There's some offensive difference makers. When you look at the pitching, I think that's what it's going to come down to for a team to win a division. So when you look at the Tanner Bibees of the world and the Pablo Lopez and, the Tarek Skubals. Tarek Skubal is a very obvious and key choice here. But there's another lefty in this league that I think is being slept on considering how good he's been the last 2 seasons, and that is Cole Ragans from your Kansas City Royals. Last year, 5 points of WAR. He was 11-9, a 3.14 ERA. He was healthy, made all 32 starts, 186 innings, struck out 223 batters. His first All-Star nod, he finished 4th in Cy Young voting, just missing the top 3 there. And by the way, he's only 26. He's going to be 27 this year. I think this kid is going to have a phenomenal season. You think back to how good, Tarek Skubal was, obviously. But Cole Ragans to finish 4th, Seth Lugo finished 2nd. That's how good Seth Lugo was. And I think he might be that good again. But if I'm going to pick one of these 2 Royals pitchers, I think Cole Ragans is going to be that ace, that staff. I think he's going to lead the Royals to potential division winner. We'll get into that. Class A finished 3rd, but that's because of how dominant he was. Is that going to be the same case this year? I don't think so. It's very hard to repeat that kind of level of success in back-to-back years. So Class A, great choice, but I think Ragans, on a normal year, Class A's ERA and Class A's numbers aren't that good. It would be Tarek Skubal, Lugo, and Ragans last year. Ragans could have finished 3rd, which is still better than 2nd, but I really think that Cole Ragans is going to have a great season, and I'm really excited to see what he can do, and he's my pick for the AL Cy Young Award. Yeah, feel really confident in that one. I think that's the one I'm most confident in. I think the Cy Youngs are the two picks I'm most confident in. I know there's a lot of great starting pitchers out there and a lot of great pitchers in both leagues, but the Royals are going to need that kind of ace staff, to lead them to be battling for the division. And I think Reagans knows that, and I think he's up for the challenge. So give me Cole Reagans for the Cy Young. For the NL Cy Young, for the longest time, I kept trying to think, you know what? Let me not pick Paul Skeens, because that's an obvious choice. It's such an obvious choice. So I was bouncing around a little bit. I was thinking Zach Wheeler, how dominant he's been and has never gotten the chance to fight and get himself a Cy Young. I was thinking Logan Webb and the Giants. Like, is this a year the Giants take these step up and one of the Padres or Diamondbacks take that step down, and it's going to be because of Webb and how dominant he is? He's an innings leader. He's a dog. He goes 8 innings, 4 hits, a run. Like, he's a guy like that. And I kept circling. I kept thinking of all these great pitchers, Blake Snell and the Dodgers now. And every time I did, it always came back to one guy. And it might be the obvious choice, but man, every time I get to watch Paul Skeens pitch, I feel really, really happy. Like, this guy is electric. The Pirates need to build now because he needs to be in the postseason next year. Doesn't matter. It's time to sign every free agent you can. The Pirates need to compete. Paul Skeens last year at the age of 22 was so damn dominant. He came up in May. He made 23 starts to an 11-3 record. He got 5.9 career WAR points in 133 innings. He struck out 170 batters to a 1.96 ERA. He was an all-star. He won the Rookie of the Year. He finished 19th in MVP voting, and by the way, already top 3 in Cy Young. And this is his first year in the big leagues and only 22 years old. Paul Skeens is the most dominant choice. I think he's the most fun and electric player in the big leagues right now. Cover athlete for MLB The Show. I can't get enough of this guy. And there's great pitchers throughout the league at all. But, man, if he can put up 11-3 as a Pittsburgh Pirate, if he can be that dominant, and he can, we saw it last year, there really is only one thing that can stop him, and that's injuries. I don't think he's going to be the type of guy who, will have a sophomore slump or struggle this year. Like, the only thing that really will slow him down is a stint on the IL. If Skeens can stay healthy, he is most doubtably going to be the Cy Young winner. And I would be shocked if he has a bad year. This guy is amazing. Every time I see him pitch, I love watching him in spring training. I've seen him highlights. Like, that's the type of stuff I throw him before bed. It's like, oh, time to go to bed. Let me find a 10-minute Paul Skeens strikeout compilation. Like, it's just fun to watch. He is incredible and a rare talent. So if you live in Pittsburgh or near the Pittsburgh area, if the Pirates are coming to you, and that Paul Skeens could be pitching on that week, definitely buy tickets, see him in person, because I'll tell you, it's probably a treat. I can't wait to see him in person. I know if I get a chance to see the Pirates come to town, I will 100% be looking to see if Skeens will be making a start, and I will be 100% buying tickets to a Paul Skeens start, because that's how good he is. He's the type of player you want to see. He's the type of player that's going to win the Cy Young, so be ready for that. And high hopes all the way around for Paul Skeens in 2025. I have, real high expectations for the guy, and of course it's not fair because he's only 22, going to be 23, but man, I'd be gassed to see this guy live. So Paul Skeens and Cole Reagans, those are my Cy Young picks. And let's move on now to the Rookies of the Year. I'm going to start this one in the NL this time because there is an obvious choice, and there's an obvious choice that I like so much that I am 100% taking it up. Roki Sasaki. I don't need to say any other names. There are other prospects. There are other great players that are going to be, in the NL and could be competing for the Rookie of the Year. But I think this is going to be similar to last year with Paul Skeens. I mean, Roki Sasaki, I know his control and his command a little bit in that first game of the season, or the second game of the season, I guess, back in the Tokyo series last week. I know it got a little awry from him at times, but ever since I watched him in the World Baseball Classic, I've fallen in love with this player. It pains me that he's on the Dodgers because the Dodgers have so many other amazing players, and I want to see this guy succeed, and I think he will succeed with the Dodgers, but hopefully not to the point where he's constantly winning World Series for the Dodgers because, where's the fun in that? But man, I love this kid. I think he's going to be an electric arm. He's going to be a huge part of this Dodgers rotation. And it's the safest choice, but it's the right choice. I think it's Roki's Rookie of the Year to lose. Let's just say it's like that. Sasaki, he looks damn good. He can throw up to 100 miles an hour. He's got a great splitter. Like it's a nasty player to have on your team, to have in your staff, and it's really the safest and most obvious choice for the Rookie of the Year. And I wouldn't want to pick anyone else and see this guy win it. So I will take Roki Sasaki, and that will be my pick for the NL Rookie of the Year, which brings us to the AL Rookie of the Year. Now, this one was a lot more fun because there's a lot of interesting names, a lot of guys who, could be and probably will be making some debuts this season. We had the Astros and Cam Smith, how good he's been in spring training. Among other players, there's been a lot of great names and potentially some great prospects to be, making their debuts this season. I mentioned, I forget who I mentioned, Cam Smith with the Astros and the way he's been hitting the ball. I'm blanking on the complete other names that I was thinking of because there was a good amount. I keep circling to Zach Fiend, but Zach Fiend's on the Colorado Rockies. But, maybe he makes a run for NL Rookie of the Year, to be fair. So you never know who's going to be the Rookie of the Year that steps up, right? Because it's such a niche category. It was incredible. Well, it was incredible, but it was also kind of obvious that in my first year in 2023, I was able to predict both Gunnar and Corbin Carroll for the Rookie of the Years. Which felt really good because, they were both great players and it made sense and they both played up to the potential that I saw in them. And, that's kind of what it was. But, there's some interesting players, Jason Dominguez for the Yankees. Now they're coming back to me. Dominguez with the Yankees and how good, the switch hitter, he's been a top prospect and the next Mike Trout. So, does he get a chance now that he's healthy? Jackson Jobe with the Tigers, starting pitcher, top potential there. You had Jacob Wilson for the A's, Kumar Rocker for the Rangers. The Blue Jays, Alan Roden made the Major League roster, and he had a fantastic spring. Kobe Mayo with Baltimore. Plenty of players here, but there are two players from the Red Sox organization that I want to highlight here. Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell, both could potentially win the Rookie of the Year. I think Boston, with these two kids and the team they have, are in for a great season. And it made my pick a little bit easier today because there was news that Christian Campbell made the team and will be with the Red Sox from the beginning of the season. And I think that is because they would like to see him win the Rookie of the Year, get that extra draft pick next year. So I'm going to be taking Christian Campbell. I think the Red Sox are going to have a good season. They're going to rely on some of their young talent, whether it is Roman Anthony or whether it is Campbell. But, this kid, is a variety specialist. He's a second base, shortstop, center fielder. We'll see how they decide to use him. But his numbers are great in the minors. A 986 OPS. He's got over 20 home runs, over 80 RBIs, a 327 batting average, and that's just 2 seasons in the minor leagues here. So the soon-to-be 23-year-old is getting the call straight from the start. He will be with the Red Sox on opening day, and very excited for this young kid, and I think that he is going to lead and win the Rookie of the Year for the AL. So that is Christian Campbell and Roki Sasaki for my AL and NL Rookies of the Year. And that brings us now to the relievers of the year. Very special because, a good reliever can go a long way for a team. Obviously, Emmanuel Clase is the most obvious choice, and I think he's going to have another fantastic season. Maybe not as fantastic as last season, but I did want to, step away from a Clase here, and there was one relief pitcher, one closing pitcher that really shocked me last year, and someone who I'm very excited to see again this year, and that is Mason Miller from your Athletics. The 25-year-old last year in 2024 was an All-Star and finished 4th in Rookie of the Year voting. In 2023, he played 10 games, and I'm being honest, I don't remember seeing him a single time in those 10 games. But in this year, he played 55 games. I learned his name. I learned him as a player. 28 saves, 65 innings, just dominant. 104 strikeouts in 65 innings. 4th in Rookie of the Year voting as a closing pitcher is very impressive. So far in his big league career, 65 games, a 2.93 ERA. This will be his 3rd season, and I think it's going to be a step up, and I think he's going to have a fantastic season. I think the Athletics can be sneaky good, very underrated. They're playing in a AAA ballpark in Cedar Heath, so we'll have to see kind of what the Athletics will bring to the table here, but I think Mason Miller will continue to be as dominant as he was last year, if not even more. So an All-Star and 4th in Rookie of the Year. I think the next step up is reliever of the year. So that's my pick for the AL. And then for the NL, there are some interesting choices here as well. Tanner Scott with the Dodgers can kind of make some sense. Robert Suarez, is he the closer? Is it Jason Adam? There's some options there for the Padres. Edwin Diaz in the Mets. Some great names here. And while I don't think the Cardinals are going to be too competitive this year, a lot will have to click for them and a lot will have to go wrong for other teams if they're going to get any chance at the postseason. There is a closing pitcher there who I think is dominant and potentially might be their best player on the team here, and that is Ryan Helsley, 2-time All-Star, and by the way, he's won Reliever of the Year award before, so he could easily do it again. He's got 2 All-Stars as mentioned in 2022 and in 2024. He finished 12th in Cy Young in 2022, 9th in Cy Young last year. He led the league in saves with 49 saves. He played 65 games, 66 innings, striking out 79 to a 2.04 ERA. He also had a 7-4 record and accumulated a career-high 2.9 WAR. And he's in a contract year, so he's playing his heart out. He wants to make a big contract deal next year, potentially to the Dodgers, because you can always need more players here. So I think Ryan Helsley is going to be in for a great season, and I think he and Mason Miller will take home honors there in the Relievers of the Year. So I will take those two, Mason Miller, Ryan Helsley. Let's see what happens. The young kid and the guy entering a contract here. Those are my picks for the Relievers of the Year. And that brings us to our final award here that I do here on the middle of the order. It is Managers of the Year. And I'm going to be honest with you. As I was looking at the managers list, I'm going to be 100% serious when I say I think there are so many amazingly talented managers in the MLB right now. I mean, there are a lot of great managers that I think, who are top tier managers. Just straight up. And I think that any one of them really could have a fantastic season. Obviously, it comes down to success of the overall team versus expectations. That's how it usually goes here. But I mean, Brandon Hyde has been with Baltimore for such a long time and has gone through the downs and downs and downs and is now trying to lead them to successful seasons and, trying to get them past, the first round of the postseason and continue that. Stephen Vogt last year at the Guardians, how amazing was this guy? Does that another level there? AJ Hinch and the Tigers, what do you bring out of that? Ron Washington, one of the most lovable guys in baseball. Aaron Boone, Kevin Cash, Bruce Bochy. There are so many great names here in the AL. And that's only that's for me off the top of my head, the top tier guys. But still, Mark Kotsay is a great manager. Joey Espadra, I've seen a lot of success early on here. Dan Wilson is a lovable guy there for Seattle. And that's only the AL managers. You go into the NL. Torey Lovello and the Diamondbacks, he has been a fan favorite for a long time. Craig Counsell, Terry Francona back now, no longer with the Guardians. He's with the Reds. How is that going to look for his first year? Brian Snitker, Bud Black, the Rockies, not a lot of success, but Bud Black has been with them. I think he's the longest tenured manager right now. And the fan base loves him. Dave Roberts, you got here. Pat Murphy and the Brewers. Bob Melvin and the Giants, I think, has been great. I think Davey Martinez and the Nationals is still a great manager pair. So a lot of fantastic managers in the league right now. So when it comes down to who I think, I'm thinking of the teams that I pick for division winners, the teams I think that, have those outside chances, potentially going to have great seasons, and who will lead the way here. And I chose two guys here that I think will be big factors in making playoffs and the season in general. So for the AL Manager of the Year, I picked Alex Cora. I believe in the Boston Red Sox a lot more than I would originally hope so. I think their young talent with the additions of Bregman and guys like Story needs to have a year now, and Yoshida needs that bounce back. And I think Cora's going to do a great job at handling that Red Sox depth there and managing this team. You got Brian Bello, Lucas Giolito. Is he going to have any setbacks this year? Cutter Crawford. There's some top talent in the rotation there. Of course, that's the IL. The rotation of Garrett Crochet, who they added at the trade deadline, during a trade this offseason. They brought up Walker Buehler. They got Tanner Hyuk, so there's options there. The bullpen of Aroldis Chapman and Leon Hendricks, two great relief pitchers, on top of other guys they have in the bullpen there. And then, you got Jarren Duran, Devers, Bregman, Casas, Story, Christian Campbell, who's listed here as a second baseman, and then, Ceddanne Rafaela, Willie Abreu. The team is solid. I think Boston's got a real chance. Like I said, Baltimore didn't make a lot of moves this offseason. The Yankees are without Cole, and I think I'm pushing that a lot more in my head than it actually is, because I think Cole is a great player, and I think he is a difference maker. Is he going to be the difference maker for the Yankees this season? Only time will tell. The Rays and the Devil Magic, the Blue Jays and their potential ups or downs. So I really think Red Sox are overall a solid pick for the division. And in doing so, I think Alex Cora will win the Manager of the Year for the AL. And for the NL, give it to my boy Craig Counsell from the Cubs. He made the move, made the transition. Cubs were a little lackluster, some ups and some downs. And I think, the Tokyo series was kind of just, it's early into the season. It's kind of you're against the Dodgers. What do you expect? The offense needs to get going. And there are a lot of names here of guys that I like. Ian Happ, Suzuki, Kyle Tucker, Matt Shaw, Michael Busch, Dansby Swanson, Pete Crow Armstrong. The rotation of Justin Steele and Shota Eminaga. You bring in Matthew Boyd. You bring in Colin Ray. You got Jamison Tyone. You trade for Ryan Presley. You bring in Ryan Brazier. There are a lot of interesting names here. I think this Cubs team is really special. I think Craig Counsell is the right guy to lead them. So very excited to see what can happen here for the Cubs. But for picks for Managers of the Year, give me Alex Cora, give me Craig Counsell, and I will happily walk away with those picks, and hopefully they can prove me right, because that's ideally what you want, is for all these picks to be right. So we'll have to see how that will come down to at the end of the season here. And that brings us to our last bit here, our division winners and my World Series winner here. So, if you're going through and you've been listening to the awards so far, you can kind of have a hunch of where I'm going, where I'm really going to be putting my chips in when I think of the success of some of these teams this year. So we'll start in the AL with our AL East. And as mentioned, it's the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox have the most complete team. It will either be the Red Sox or the Yankees. I think the Yankees made a lot of great moves to replace Soto by bringing in Max Fried, by bringing in Devin Williams for the bullpen to be that closer and that guy. And to bring in two former MVPs, the young Cody Bellinger, who could figure things out potentially. The veteran Paul Goldschmidt, and that kind of worked when they brought in Rizzo a couple seasons ago, and of course no longer with the team, but I think Goldschmidt kind of replaces Rizzo nicely. I think Bellinger, doesn't replace Soto, but when you think of all the other things they were able to do with that Soto money, I think the Yankees are better off. But without Cole, I don't know if they can compete for the division. Of course, the Red Sox have their own injuries for the rotation, but I really am a fan of that lineup. So I'm going to take the Red Sox to win the East. For the AL Central, like I said in the DOP, this is a complete coin flip. Really, as long as you don't choose the White Sox, you have a chance of making the right pick. It's a 25% chance pick, really. And as much as I do love the Guardians, I really do love Cleveland. I love Stephen Vo. I love Stephen Kwan. I love Jose Ramirez and Kyle Manzardo. There's so many great players that I love from the Guardians. I love Kansas City a little bit more. I love Cole Reagans, Seth Lugo, Michael Walker. They traded away Singer. They brought in India. They've got an MVP potential player in Bobby Witt. They've got Vinny Pasquantino, Mikael Garcia, Hunter Renfroe. Like, there are so many fun and notable names here. And with Bobby Witt, with Cole Reagans, I'm expecting big things from the Royals here in 2025, and I think they will take the AL Central. And lastly, the AL West. For me, this is a coin flip between the Astros and the Rangers. I think both are going to be great this season. Seattle obviously could be in the mix. The Athletics could be that sneaky dark horse if things go wrong for some teams here. But despite losing Bregman and Kyle Tucker, until I see Houston fail, I cannot not pick the Astros. I know last season in the postseason, they lost the Tigers, and that's like, this is the ground changing, like, okay, Houston's not Houston anymore. Like, the Astros are going to be different. And that is 100% could be the case. But until they don't win the division, until they can't win the division, I'm still going to pick the Astros. I think the Rangers have a great team. I think they're going to be very successful. But like I said in the MVP earlier, Yordan Alvarez is going to be a powerhouse offensively. He's going to be hitting 50-plus home runs. I think Altuve is going to be hitting 30-plus home runs. I think Yanyer Diaz takes steps forward. I think Jeremy Pena kind of locks in and becomes that player that I think Houston believes in still. So I've got big ups on the Astros, big things for 2025. Give me the Houston Astros. For the NL side of things, we're going to go backwards here, go from the NL West to the East. The West, great teams in the Padres and the Diamondbacks, potentially the Giants, but if you don't say the Dodgers, you're ridiculous. Dodgers should win the NL West. You shouldn't really need to explain it. Their team is phenomenal. They have a great manager. They have a great rotation, a great bullpen, a great lineup, a great defense. Everything is great about these Dodgers. They will win the NL West, and if they don't, we will all laugh in them, because that's what happens when you spend that much money and can't win the division. It's the Dodgers division to lose. Easy said and done. For the NL Central, Reds and Pirates are fun. I would love if one of them win it, but it comes down for me to Cubs versus Brewers. The Brewers, I said they lost Corbin Burns last year, and I will always, something about the Brewers, I can always just never get on their train. I can never want the Brewers to succeed. That's not a diss to Milwaukee fans out there, but there's something about that team that every time I look at it, I'm just like, no, it's not right. They lost Willie Adames, something about it. The Cubs bringing Kyle Tucker. I mean, just give me the Cubs, man. I have Craig Counsell winning the NL manager. And like I mentioned with that team, Suzuki and Happ, and I think there's a lot of key great pieces there for the Cubs. And I think the Brewers are missing something. I can never put my finger on it, and they'll always prove me wrong. So I can't wait for the Brewers to win the division. But I'm going to say the Cubs take home the NL Central honors. And that brings us to the last division here, the NL East. 1-3 chance here. The Braves, Mets, and Phillies. Do you have Harper and Turner lead the way for the Phillies? Do you have Soto and his big money bag pockets bring it home for the Mets? Or do you have returning stars in Spencer Strider and Acuna figure things out for the Braves? I said it last year. I'll say it again this year. The Braves on paper, when healthy, yes, even to the Dodgers, are the best team in baseball. I think what they've done with the team, to how they've gotten their players on cheap deals and have been able to do so much for that team, I'm excited. I really hope we get to see Braves Dodgers in a NLCS. I would love to see this kind of battle again. Strider and Acuna, they won't start healthy with the team, but I think when they get healthy, Acuna will lead the way. He'll put up MVP type numbers. Strider will be dominant, put up Cy Young type numbers. And, that's not even to mention the guys that are healthy, like Matt Olson, like Ozzie Albies, like Austin Riley, like Michael Harris II, like, just so many great players. And even losing Max Fried, the rotation for me has a couple of question marks, but I think that offense still carries, and I like them a lot. So I'll be taking the Atlanta Braves for the NL East. Those are my 6 division winners. For wildcard teams, we've got for the AL, sorry, I'm going to just name the 3, give small explanations here. The Texas Rangers, I think, are the 1 seed in the AL. I think they're going to be very close with the Astros. I think the Astros edge them out, but still expect big things from Seager, from Simeon, for the rest of those Rangers. Big ups, the Texas Rangers. They're going to take home the 1st seed in the wild card there. For the 2nd seed, give me the Guardians. I said I was high on them. I still do believe in them, even if it isn't for the, for the division. It's going to be a dogfight between those 2 teams. Very excited to see kind of the outcomes. But yeah, I will be taking the Cleveland Guardians for the 2nd seed. And for the 3rd seed, this is very difficult because you have 3 great teams in the AL still. And, like I said, Baltimore, did they do enough? Is Gunnar and Alley going to be able to lead the way? Is it going to be the Yankees without Cole? Is Judge going to just have those monster numbers? Will they stay healthy? Or will it be the Blue Jays? And will it be Vladdy on a contract year and Bo on a contract year and a future Hall of Famer in Max Scherzer? What does he bring to the table? How does that impact Barrios and Bassett and Gausman and Manoah when he's healthy, and Bowden Francis, who's ended the season last year with 2 potential no-hitters? I will be taking the Toronto Blue Jays. This is going to be a real coin flip of a season, because if they struggle in April, if they struggle in May, if they are 5th in this division, like, they can easily, fight for the division and finish 1st or 2nd or 3rd. They can also finish dead last with like 60 and 100, 62 and 100. Like, it really is a coin flip for the Blue Jays. I'm going to take the backs of Vladdy and Bo. I think Bo's going to have a bounce back season, be a really solid asset for the Blue Jays. They just extended Kirk. I think he's going to play well now. They brought in Santander. They brought in Andres Jimenez. Springer's due for a bounce back as well. So for my wildcard teams for the AL, Texas Rangers, Cleveland Guardians, Toronto Blue Jays, joining the division winners of the Red Sox, Royals, and Astros. Those are my 6 teams in the AL. For the NL, I will be taking the Philadelphia Phillies, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the San Diego Padres. I think the Diamondbacks and Padres, even having to face the Dodgers, will still figure out a way to get wins against teams in the Central, teams against the East. I have high hopes for both of them. I think the Diamondbacks are going to sneak out the win. So if there was one team that I don't believe in as much, it is the Padres. But they have Tatis. They have Jackson Merrill, who is the Rookie of the Year asterisk. If it wasn't for Paul Skeens, he was easily going to win it. And then, although the Braves are so good, the Phillies are just as good, and they can also make that fight for the division. I think it's a clear, 1-2, kind of like Astros in Texas in the AL. Phillies and Braves will be very strong. I think the Mets, I don't know what I think about the Mets. I think, Soto's a great add, but, you're starting Clay Holmes for your opening day starter. I think their rotation has a couple of major injuries that they need to figure out, and I just don't believe in the rotation as much as I do, the Phillies with Zach Wheeler and Luzardo and Nola and Suarez and Christopher Sanchez and, the Braves as well. So that's why I don't have the Mets making the wild card. But anything could happen. And if I'm being honest, I'm probably wrong about most of the things I've mentioned. If there's one thing I'm pretty confident on, it's a Roki Sasaki NL Rookie of the Year, a Paul Skeens Cy Young. But anything here for the division and for my awards could be completely wrong here. And that brings us to the World Series winner. Between those 12 teams that I've mentioned, the Red Sox, Royals, Astros, Braves, Cubs, Dodgers, Rangers, Guardians, Blue Jays, Phillies, Diamondbacks, Padres. Those are my 12 teams making it to the postseason. Give me the Atlanta Braves to win the World Series. I believe in the Braves. I believe in Strider and Acuna coming back and being stars. That's my picks. That's what I'm saying for the 2025 season. I cannot wait for all of these to go extremely poorly, to say the least here. That's kind of the way things go here. So that is going to do it for the awards and division predictions here. My predictions for the 2025 season. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening and for enjoying every episode with me, whether it was DOPs or along the off season here. All the crazy moves that we've happened. It's been so exciting. I cannot wait to start bringing you guys the 2025 news from the regular season. Of course, opening day on Thursday, March 27th. I'm going to my opening day. I hope you guys are going out there as well. Go to an early Jays game or an early baseball game. Enjoy the sights and sounds, the new ballpark food. See some of your new players, hopefully for your teams, and hopefully this is a great season for your ball club, whatever team you're a fan of. It's the best time of the year, really, when baseball is back. I cannot wait to be watching some baseball, to be talking some baseball here with you guys on the Middle of the Order. I appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody, so much. Not sure if the episode's going to be on Friday or Monday, but I will see you next time.